Hello everyone, Sableye here and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about Primarina and how to use it effectively in the VGC metagame. And to start things off immediately, we are going to go over the Liquid Voice ability, which is really where you're going to capitalize off of utilizing Primarina. Yes, Torrent is cool, you get pretty low health, you start doing more damage with your water moves, but Liquid Voice is where Primarina's niche lies. And that's turning your sound-based moves into water moves. And the big thing you're going to capitalize off of that is turning Hyper Voice into a water move. Now you've got a spread, pretty decently strong water move coming from a special attacker, and there's not that many special attacking water types in the format right now. This is where Primarina is going to capitalize. So that's really the main thing here. You also get access to the Stab Moonblast, which we've all seen on Fluttermanes is disgusting, right? We've seen this. This is the concept of Primarina. You also get some cool coverage options as well in stuff like Energy Ball, Ice Beam. If you wanted to try and get cheeky with like an Encore or an Icy Wind, you can do that stuff as well. Basically, you've got a lot of cool coverage moves, but Hyper Voice and Moonblast are going to be your staples. That's where this piece is going to see the most success from, right? Unfortunately, Primarina falls into the trap of just having such an awkward speed tier, because it has some pretty decent stats, right? 126 special attack is nothing to laugh at, and 116 special defense isn't quite that bad either. You can live a lot of things with the HP and the special defense stat. The defense stat's a little lackluster, but it's not the end of the world. You can kind of patch that. Your resistances, you're still living the things you're trying to live anyways. And then that speed, though, is the problem, because if I try to go min speed and I try to go quiet, right, and I just try to go min speed, I'm sitting at 58. Both the Ursalunas are actually slower than that. They're gonna send big damage into me before I can do anything. The Torkoals are still slower, so I'm not quite slow enough to be that Trick Room sweeper that I'd want to be. But at the same time, I'm not realistically fast enough to function under like a crazy amount of Tailwind, because like if I wanted to say like, oh no, most Tailwind mons when I consider it's like, oh, you want to outpace one of the faster mons into formats. So like take for example like a Fluttermane or a boosterless Iron Bundle. Right, you'd want to be sitting at around 103, 104 to beat those. But that is a lot of investment on a Primarina that you really don't want to have to commit. I'm not saying you can't do it, but that is 180 EVs, 188 EVs, 180 EVs, depending on which way you want to play it, to realistically gain no additional effect for Primarina outside of Tailwind. And it just doesn't feel right. So you have that middling speed tier that's really difficult to overcome. However, there are a lot of good things going for Primarina, and we'll talk about that. Going to start things off with set 1. And guys, the disclaimer as always here is all of these things are very early meta right now, and it's also just interchangeable. A lot of these spreads that I build and I put out in these guides are I'm hitting a few key elements and then I just go from there. But you can really adapt this to whatever your playstyle may be, whatever you need for your team. However, we're going to start, like I said, you've got those staples with the Hyper Voice and the Moonblast. And I think Assault Vest is really, really strong for Primarina. Mainly because, why would I use this piece over Fluttermane? And that's obviously for the Water Stab. But because I'm going to be slower than other Fluttermanes, I don't really want to just be losing to Fluttermanes. So having this Assault Vest allows me to just sit on the field. It also helps incredibly well against stuff like Raging Bolt right now, which is incredibly, incredibly strong. So with the Assault Vest, Raging Bolt actually cannot one-shot me, even if they have their Proto Boost active, unless they are set up. So that is a big, big plus for Primarina. You also can go Terra Dragon to get out of the Grass weakness, to get out of the Electric weakness. That feels incredible. You also keep your resistance to the Surging Strikes from Urshifu. That feels like the best Terra type, in my opinion, on Primarina. Obviously, there's other things to play around with. You can probably try and test out something like Grass, because Grass is kind of cool. You resist Grass, you resist Electric, and you're immune to Spore. Pretty cool to see, but I don't really want to be losing to the Fire types that are just faster than me, because once again, I can't guarantee that my Primarina is going to be faster than a Incineroar, and that's where this speed tier really starts hurting it. Because if I could guarantee that like I'd be faster than an Incineroar, then I can probably get away with a Grass, because then I know I'm just going to take it down, right? There's a lot of options there, but I think Grass is another cool option. But Grass or Dragon are probably the two you're going to see the most, or you're going to get the most usage out of. This should be Liquid Voice. That is my bad. But then I decided Ice Beam and Hydro Cannon. Ice Beam was basically to at least capitalize on the fact that I have this coverage. You could very easily go something along the lines of Energy Ball or a Icy Wind if you're looking to slow opposing pieces down. There's some cool options that you can do with that. I like Ice Beam just for consistent damage output, especially in endgames where I can go like Terra Dragon, wall out those grass types, and then just Ice Beam them back. You know, it just, that feels good to me. So I liked having that option, you know. And then Hydro Cannon was here. Once again, this could be whatever you want. This could be the Icy Wind slot. This could be the Energy Ball. This could be, you know, Alluring Voice is kind of cool if you want to try and capitalize on them trying to like set up in front of Primarina, and then you can just confuse them. But I just don't think it's worth it in this case. Whereas now I like having a single target water move that I can just send. Obviously, we saw Hydro Cannon be used quite a bit in the Dynamax era, because in or out of Dynamax you'd have that 150 base power move, but you'd still have this base 150 power move if you need to just take something down. And I think that's really, really strong on Primarina, especially when you have this fourth move slot. Obviously, like I said, the Energy Balls, the Ice Beams, even Flip Turn if you're trying to reposition could be cool. I don't recommend it, but it could be cool, right? Hydro Pump is another one, but I'm not a really big fan of the 80% accuracy. I'd rather take the next turn to recharge, or just, you know, make sure I'm sending something. You know, if I'm going to have that hindrance of potentially missing the move, I'm going to full send it, and I'm going to accept the fact that, you know what, I might not move next turn, but I'm going to just absolutely take you out. Long story short, you don't need Hydro Cannon. I think it's a very cool option just to pick up some very key knockouts later on down the road, right? Like sometimes Hyper Voice doesn't quite do enough and I need to remove the Incineroar immediately. I can do that with a Hydro Cannon, right? There's a lot of options for that to become a thing, and I think that's why you have it there. Just big damage when you need it, just kind of splash it on there. But it could easily be anything else. EV spread wise, speed stat I really didn't know where to sit. I figured you had those Iron Hands in the previous format sitting around 85. Incineroar is probably sitting around very similar ranges. So I figured, you know what? Let's just get Primarina to creep that 85 stat for 86. Not really too much more. I didn't really want to commit to like zooming with Primarina. So that's kind of where I sat there to start the spread. And then 108 is actually the jump into stat. But I had 8 EVs left over afterwards, so I just dumped them over here. There's really that you can play around with. I didn't really do too many offensive calcs. Just make sure I was two-shotting the stuff that I really wanted to two-shot, which I still am, like these Incineroars. With a Hyper Voice is getting two-shot, right? Urshifu is going down to Moonblast and all that good stuff. Then defensively, this is calced to survive Surging Strikes from Mystic Water, Max Attack, Adamant, Urshifu in the rain. And obviously, it's a little bit overkill. I believe you can get away with like 236.60 as well to also survive that calc, and I have that on the next spread. But on the AV spread, it just felt like I can load up the HP, drop some good defense. This also lives Grassy Glide from Max Attack Rillaboom. No one's running Max Attack Rillaboom, but sitting in front of it and going, yeah, I'm just going to live a Grassy Glide is a pretty good feeling, you know? So, like, it just felt like the right defensive stats. Obviously, like I said, room to play around with them, but that's kind of what this spread was going for. And then the special defense was here to allow Moonblast from Fluttermane to be a 3-hit KO if they're not Terraing. This is from, I believe, 196 special attack Fluttermane. So, 196 modest special attack Fluttermane Moonblast is a 3-shot onto this Primarina. Now, of course, you probably don't beat it back, but being able to potentially get 2 attacks off onto an opposing piece that's beside their Fluttermane is incredibly, incredibly strong. It also allows you to go Terra Dragon early and then survive their Moonblast even after you've gone for a Terra Dragon. I mean, you're going to take 98%, but you're going to live and then maybe be able to get that 1 attack off. And sometimes that's all you need, right? But like I said, Dragon is incredibly strong. Defensive typing, flip those type charts on your opponent. And overall, this is kind of, like I said, very basic spots that I wanted to hit. So obviously you can modify this to your pleasure. But if you're just looking to slap a Primarina on, this is probably where you want to start. Now, one of the bigger concerns now is Primarina, if you're going to use the AV set, it takes up that Assault Vest slot, which there's a lot of other Pokemon that want Assault Vest. So that's where set 2 comes into play. And this is the more offensive option. Once again, I need to remember to change these things to Liquid Voice. I'm not that smart. I'm going to put Grass here. Once again, I'm Grass, Dragon, whichever one you really want to do. You can also technically go Water if you really just wanted to send it. I don't like it. I think Primarina has the bulk to be able to utilize Terra types defensively, so I would want to use it defensively. But if you really wanted to, you can just send you can send water or send fairy and just do incredible amounts of damage if you wanted to. I'm not going to stop you from that. And this entire set here with Throat Spray is hinging on you just saying, I'm going to get a Hyper Voice up, I'm going to get my +1 special attack, and I'm just going to send it. And that's the concept here. You know, you're going to get big damage off with a Hyper Voice on the first time. After that, all your Hyper Voices are going to do more. Everything is going to just start doing more. I put Energy Ball as the coverage move here, but once again, I just wanted to showcase Energy Ball. You can go Energy Ball, Ice Beam. You have a lot of other options for coverage moves as well. Either of those can sit right there and be completely fine. This move right here, this tech move, is super interchangeable. In terms of the EV spread, there's not much going on here. Like I said, I dropped it down to the minimum you needed for that survival. You might even be able to go a little bit lower on HP, but there's really no point in going lower in HP. I hit kind of everything else I needed to. If you feel like you need more special attack, you can probably drop this a little bit to hit that bare minimum, right? But like 236.60, just having that extra bulk felt incredibly strong on Primarina, right? This is how you get over that middling speed tier. You know, you just allow yourself to live things and then do a good chunk of damage back. You can probably lower your special attack, right? But the way I was looking at this is with Throat Spray, I'm probably not on the field for super long. So I want to get as much damage out as I possibly can. So I sent 196 and just said this is going to be really good. Once again, 188 actually ends up being the bump in the special attack. But I didn't really see a reason to go 12 speed and sit at the bump, you know? Like, I mean, I could definitely do that. There's tons of options here. Once again, these spreads are very basic. I just kind of went, hey, yeah, you can send this if you need to, right? And this was meant to be like showcase that more offensive variant that's not as bulky, not quite as fast, but still pretty strong on the defensive side to be able to take those hits that it needs to, right? Because being able to survive that Urshifu attack is super strong, right? Like, if they're going to set Rain, Terra Water, Mystic Water, Surging Strikes, and just not kill me, I mean, I'm just going to kill them back with a Moonblast. I will take that every single day of the week. There's no reason not to, right? Like, I'm meant to be able to live hits from Urshifu and send it back. That's one of the strong points in Primarina in this meta. And if I drop defenses too much and then all of a sudden I'm dying to Urshifu, it just doesn't feel good, you know? So I really wanted to focus on that Urshifu calc. Obviously, you can mix this up to your liking. You can maybe go, maybe on this Hyper Voice set, maybe this is where you agree with the Liquid Voice to say, you know what, I'm just going to send speed, you know, and then you do something like this. I don't recommend this. Like I said, I didn't like this at the beginning, and I still don't like it now. But if that's what you're looking for and you think that's what your team needs and you want a Primarina functioning in Tailwind, it is very workable to do this. However, I do think I get more value out of just dumping this into the bulk, because having that bulk, being able to get those attacks off, maybe getting a second attack off as well, is where Primarina succeeds versus those Urshifus. Set 3 isn't really a set, more so as just like some sort of other options that I wanted to showcase for Primarina, as it always is with most of my set 3s, right? Leftovers Calm Mind is a very cool option. I don't know where you're going to find the room to set up Leftovers Calm Mind in this meta. It doesn't seem like a meta that is really built to set up a Calm Mind user and send leftovers, especially being a Primarina with your weak defense stat. Like, if you had an incredibly high defense stat and then you started Calm Minding to fix a low special defense stat, I could see that working out a little bit better. So I don't know where it realistically fits onto Primarina. However, I could definitely see it being something that sneaks into the metagame if the metagame shifts towards that angle. Of course, another option that I don't have on here is actually Chilling Water, because Chilling Water is a really cool option. Just maybe you beat Dozo with this thing, because that's actually kind of cool, actually. You know, if they're not running Earthquake, let's just say, and they're running like Wave Crash Order Up, you kind of just sit in front of it. And it's kind of weird, and it's kind of one of those ones where it's like you really shouldn't be beating a Dondozo with a very frail Primarina, but you never know. Maybe it comes in handy. Maybe you just drop its attack with some Chilling Waters, right? It's an option. Like I said before, Alluring Voice just doesn't really feel worth it, but it's a cool option that I did want to mention as one of the new moves. Haze is cool because, once again, back to the Dondozo stuff, back if setup becomes super popular and you can get that Haze and you can just haze away any of their boosts, feels pretty strong. Maybe you run this beside a Spec Skoldengo, and then you can go make it rain and then haze away your drop, right? That's another cool option. Basically, I just wanted to showcase some cool options on this last slot. Like I said, Encore as well. I said this earlier, and it's just one of those ones where I don't think Encore is really great, especially on a Pokemon with the middling speed tier of Primarina, so it's probably not going to see usage. but it is a cool move that you do have access to. Life Dew is very cool as well, right? Like I said, I believe I mentioned Perish Song. I actually don't remember, but that's another cool option if you're looking for it. Maybe you go Psych Up. I don't know what you'd be psyching up, but you have the option of psyching up, I guess. I don't know. Right at this point, like I just wanted to showcase some of the other cool moves that Primarina can have. I believe the two Terra types that you're gonna suit you best are that Grass, are that Dragon. Right, you can go Grass because you technically beat the Fire types. It's just I'm gonna probably be slower than the Fire types. And going Grass, being slower than the Fire types, they come back in after, they just flip at me, and my answer to the Fire types are just gone now. You know, it doesn't feel as great. But I think Dragon is probably the most consistent Terra that you can find on it. Overall, I feel like I'm rambling at this point. But set 1, if you're looking for the AV spread onto Primarina, this is what I'd go with. If you're looking for a Primarina that's built to do a lot more damage and just put on a lot more pressure, definitely take set 2. This is where I'd start with Primarina. Like I said, there's tons of room to slide these bars left and right, whichever way suits your team better. But Primarina is a really, really cool piece. I'm looking forward to seeing if it does serve that niche role once again in the metagame, especially with Incineroar coming back as well, because it's like now you just have that extra piece that's probably going to be on a good chunk of teams that Primarina is going to be able to capitalize on. So with that, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, I will catch you all in a future video.